And the hope is Jesus' prayer. The hope is a life in the sacraments. The hope is a life in the church. We have to open up and be embracing to people who are otherwise lost. They're lost. You may not think they're lost. You may think they're just grade A, whatever, everyday people. So, when you come across people that are troubled and all that, you can help them. Well, you can only help them if you are engaged in the war yourself. You have to be engaged in the war yourself. There is often an word called philateo. That is, at the root of our thoughts, inclinations, and actions. It translates to self-love. Philatia can present itself in our bodies and minds as a willingness to sin, often starting as what we might say to be on the unconscious level. In reality, the state of philatia, I hope I'm saying it right, is a very self-motivated and harmful condition that stems from evil thoughts and produces more evil thoughts than evil actions and eventually evil addictions. That's where it ends up if you practice it. That thought becomes reality, becomes a part of your life. We can be easily blinded by philatia because of our self-centered rather than God-centered nature, but there is a cure to this state. Simply, the ability to combat self-love is to choose to live a life of fasting and humility, and I would include prayer in that as well. So, the primary evil sins utilizing the virtues. Gluttony. Everybody can relate to that, right? Gluttony. So the way to counteract it, self-control. Unchastity, illicit relationships. How do you fight that? Desire for God. You have to have a desire for God. Greed, gambling, addictions, compassion on the poor. Anger, inner or outer anger, love for all. Self-pity or dejection or depression. Seeking to have joy in your heart, joy in your mind, joy in your soul. Laziness or despondency, patience, vainglory or self-importance, thanksgiving, and pride, not judging. If I say the way to counteract it, and we would take the Beatitudes, they would just go right through the Beatitudes. Self-control, desire for God, compassion for the poor, love for all, spirit of joy, patience, thanksgiving, and not judging. Does that sound good to you? Does that sound like a good way to live? I think it does. I think it sounds good. It sounds really good to me. But evil thoughts are always a personal choice. It is best to work on one virtue at a time and accept struggles as important towards salvation. So, struggles can really come at you in a variety of ways. The spiritual struggles that we go. Everything is not a spiritual struggle that you go through. Your little temper tantrums, your little getting mad at somebody, those are not a result of. You're not struggling when you have those things occur. In fact, you're giving in and not struggling, and that's the problem. So, avoid evil in thought, temptation, and actions. I always ask, is this the right thing to do? So, if we look at our life, Adam and Eve, they fell, right? They were cast out of paradise, right? So, they fell, we fall. Avoid evil thoughts or temptations or actions. So, what does that mean? How do we avoid it? If a sin it can be a thought, it can be treatable. Sin, indeed, is not treatable because it is too late to prevent it this time. The way temptation becomes sin is by allowing, willing a sinful thought to become a deed. The first part is provocation. So that you're sitting around, or you're getting out of bed in the morning, or you're getting ready to go to sleep at night, or you're in, you walked in from a hard day's work or something, and you were feeling pretty good when you walked in. You were feeling pretty good when you got up. You were feeling all right. And then, you walked in and something came across came across you, and you react to it. You react. You kind of. It doesn't really matter what it is. It could be someone said something to you. It could be your dog did something you shouldn't do or whatever. It could be, there's a variety of things that can disrupt our thoughts. It could be that someone said something to you in the parking garage below, or in your neighborhood, or you were at school and you were struggling at school with something, and you got home, and first thing someone says, well, how was your day? And you kind of go, oh, I don't really want to talk about how my day was. My day was pretty rough. What do you mean, how was my day? Why are you asking me that question? Is there something wrong with you? I mean, come on. My day? How was your day? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I said that. So anyway, it doesn't take much to provoke. We can be provoked very easily. We can be provoked just by the tone of voice someone speaks to us with. We don't even know that we're provoked. We just simply, they say something and bam, it's like we have a natural reaction to that thing. I remember my sons, they went to the same high school that I went to, that I taught at. And we would drive to school, but I had to be there like a half hour earlier than they did to get ready for school. And one of my sons in particular had a tendency toward, I'm saying tendency, he had a tendency toward being late. And so we're coming down through the tunnel. If you go through PCH, you're coming through this tunnel, and it's like backed up. And if we had left like 10 minutes earlier, we would have been flying through it. And he just says, well, Dad, you're going to be as late as you're going to be. That's just the way it is. You got to accept it. I said, well, that's easy for you to say. It's my job. He said, yeah, but really, can you get there any faster at this point? Does it help to get mad about it? I go, actually, good thinking. And I said, sorry if I judged you, But he was pretty sharp. He was on it. He was right. In other words, 5 minutes doesn't really make a bit of difference in life. Anytime. 5 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, it doesn't matter. But we are upset very easily if someone transgresses our little borderline of defense that says being on time is important. That's my problem. I like to be on time, and I had to come here apologizing right off the bat that I was 10 minutes late. So I do apologize to you all right now. Forgive me, a sinner. But the provocation, which is defeated by an alternate suggestion, can become a desire, can become an assent, can become an action. So you may have thought it, I hate being late. You may have dwelt on it too long and brought it down into your heart. Now you're going to be late, and you're going to be upset about that being late. Then you're going to act out and say, you always make me late. Always. And he goes, really? Really? Always? I'm always late? No, I don't. And so the point is then, what is wrong with that statement? Anybody can tell me, what's wrong with that statement?
It's a blanket generalization.
It's a blank generalization, right? It's not true, in other words. Someone doesn't always make you late. You're late, you're late. I'm just using late as a sin, but there are much, much worse sins than that. The ones of I would say, the lustful orientation. One action, a thought, leads to an act, leads to a deeper thought, which leads to a provocation, which leads to a desire, which leads to a person saying yes, which leads to a person then doing it, fulfilling the action.